Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Curious is Better podcast. My name is Craig Lamb. I'm with Invative, and I got a great one today. I'm with Scott Feldbush from Martin. We've spoke before, but I really wanted you to spend some time introducing yourself because you have a really interesting perspective. You started in manufacturing, you're in distribution, and now you're the EVP of IT and operations at Martin. So just give us a couple minutes to talk about your role.
Well, sure. Thanks, Craig. First of all, appreciate the invite to be on. I look forward to talking with you. So, no, I think, I actually started with consulting right out of college a long time ago. Anderson Consulting, which became Accenture.
I remember
Uh,
that.
yeah, that Enron was unfortunately made that change necessary in their naming. But from there, I joined a company called Cooper Industries, which eventually was bought by Eaton, which is about a $24 billion global industrial manufacturer. So, literally, for the first almost 18 years of my career, I was on the manufacturing side, helping to, work on installing SAP and other technologies to enable our distribution systems as well as our manufacturing systems globally. So Asia, Middle East, Europe, etc. At that point, I moved on to a company called Brambles, which is the blue pallet people. So
Mhm.
if you ever walk into a Costco or a Sam's, you see everything sitting on the blue pallets. And again, they were global. They were about in 65 countries and had a large footprint in South Africa as well as uh, South America. And so I got to see the logistics side and how to really move product and have it in the right place at the right time, and how the manufacturers worked with the Brambles and trucking companies to get the right product to the Walmarts and the Costco's or whoever was using the product. So that was a really nice interim. And then I moved on into distribution itself. So warehousing and distribution for companies like Eaton or 3M or Honeywell, etc. So it's been really interesting for me to see the evolution through the product, all the way from the rolled steel to getting it into the hands of the right person at the right time at the customer level.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you a lot of perspective, and that's a lot of experiences to have too, right? Because you're going to Martin, and Martin's not small, but they're markedly smaller than some of the companies that you're
Yeah,
citing. And like when you and I first talked, we were talking about like just my obsession and we share, I guess, our shared obsession with automations, right? And how you save time, optimize technologies and stuff like that. Um, can you talk about how you brought that, like you had that worldview to Martin and some of the stuff that you tackled first?
yeah, no, sure. I think it's fascinating because when you come from a global entity and you have to worry about, what are we doing in South Africa versus what we're doing in China, those issues are so different, and automating across globally is a whole different perspective. But it does give you the insight on when you come to a family-owned business like Martin, which their ownership is incredible at Martin, and they have a great family atmosphere. It's been a total enjoyment to work there. But they made the decision that they wanted to grow. And in order to grow, one of the things that they had to do was address their technology and infrastructure and able to let them grow. So they were on multiple ERP systems. They had a very small IT team, and it was really kind of just, keep the bootstraps up, so to speak. And credit to them, they said, if we're going to become a bigger player in the distribution market, we will need to use automation to overcome the advantages of some of the larger competition that can throw more money and people at it. And so the first step was, how do we get on a system that will enable us to deliver solutions to our customers that are more automated, more electronic, at the same time using that automation to keep our headcount reasonable, but provide better services. So, it's on both the coming and the going side, for lack of a better term. How do we use that automation to compete and to grow, but keep that family, that customer centric solution type of environment?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so where you and I are on opposite sides of the fence is like I'm a custom software engineer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You're an off the shelf evaluator,
I
right?
am.
For
I am.
optimization, which is totally cool. We could be on opposite sides and still be friends. But like,
Absolutely.
but when you, how did you pick what the first thing is that you're going to bring to market? Because you, philosophically, we're on the same page, right? If you want to grow, you have to be able to scale. And I guess most overt vision is automation to help with scale. And there's plenty of systems we know WMSs and things like that that you could be using. How do you pick the first one to go after? Because I imagine system, I guess I'm going to call it either optimization or replacements or conflating systems stuff.
Mhm.
There's a cultural thing that you have to do, right?
Oh,
And there's
yeah.
also an evaluation of how it affects what audiences and where. So how do you go about tackling something like that?
Well, again, I want to give ownership for Martin credit here. They recognize that being on multiple ERP systems in general was going to be an issue.
For sure.
And if you think about it, to me, the core of everything is your data, right? If you don't have great data, you can't do great automation.
We've talked about this, right?
Yeah, you can't do AI, right? The people that throw AI at bad data, you're just going to make bad
That
decisions
decision's
faster.
faster, right?
Right, exactly. So how do you get good data? Now, larger companies may do data warehouses and drop them in from multiple different solutions. That's a very expensive, very um, headcount heavy solution. So for Martin, it was how do we get to a single source of the truth? And that's such a consulting term, and I hate
I
to throw
know,
it out, but
but
there's
valid.
something to it.
It feels cliche, but it's valid.
Exactly. So to get to that, it was we have to get on one ERP system. And as we do that, we have to clean up. Now, of course, when you're coming from those multiple systems, it's we have this different customer numbers for the same customer. We have the same part with different part numbers. All of that data has to be normalized, rationalized on the new ERP system. So we've spent a lot of time focused on cleaning up the data and moving to a single system. And then once you do that, now it's okay. Where do we automate first, second, and third? What are those tiers that can drive that optimization through your organization? And before you start throwing things at a customer, you better be able to handle it internally. So, making sure that okay, we want to do more EDI. And I know EDI is a really old technology, but it's table stakes now, right? You can't
Sure.
go to larger customers without it. Well, when we were on our older systems, and quite frankly, they were highly customized, right? So, you couldn't do upgrades, you couldn't anything you did took development internally. So we wanted to get to a standard as well where we could move to the cloud, do your biannual upgrades, continue to get new features and functions into the standard code. So that was all part of that normalization of our systems. But when I got there, we were doing maybe 10 EDI transactions in total. Last month we did 2,200.
Yeah, that's
Right.
dramatic, right? Because when you
Yeah,
normalize it, you can
and
do that.
and you can't do that on multiple systems or bad data. So by leveraging better data and a single system, we are now able to roll out EDI with our customers and our suppliers as they're willing. And that helps your customer relationships. It allows you to be more responsive to your customers, and it takes that manual work off your internal people so they can focus on more important things, not keying in an order
For
or
sure.
keying it, right? So that's where we started is we started at the core and said, let's get the data right. Let's get our system right. So then we can deliver customized solutions to our customers. Then we can take the average daily minutia off of our internal users and start to be more effective internally as well as externally.
And you found yourself on some stable ground. Like when we talked, was it a couple weeks ago? We were talking about like just as far as managing lean IT, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have like 10, 12 people on the IT.
12 total. Mhm.
Okay, so then there's like 500 plus employees, right? So you're talking about those types of ratios. Like, what do the daily demands look like now that you're stable? Like, as far as your ERP, you have automations that are introduced. Like, what does that look like? And then how do you introduce new innovation goals while monitoring that?
So uh, part of what we had to do is drive what I would call your standard IT processes, a single help desk where people could go and put in, hey, I can't remember my password or, hey, this
Sure.
order's hung up, those type of things. So we implemented a help desk system across the corporation. We put in a internal portal that people could access to get information and put in help desk tickets and see the status of help desk tickets. You start there. And now we've rolled out what is typical CAB, right? Change Advisory Board. So as requests come in, it gets sorted by IT. Okay, it's just a standard help desk ticket, or okay, this requires development, this requires cost. We go back to the business. We say now you have to, gather the requirements properly, so it's not wild, wild west. Then we would do some sort of evaluation on time, and then it goes into our CAB group, which will prioritize based on how it helps the business the most. And so we took different leaders out of parts of the business to help make those decisions. It's not an IT decision, it's a business decision to prioritize that work and decide if we want to spend that money.
Sure. Impact to revenue, headcount,
Exactly.
your like
Yeah. Yeah.
de-risking, perhaps, whatever.
Yeah. Across the board. So it really, it's what I'm walking through is not rocket science. It's not brand new, but it's just taking standard processes and implementing them at the right time within the
Yeah,
organization.
but it's deliberate though, right, Scott? I mean, like that's the thing. It's like a checklist. It's like if you, as long as you don't skip these things, that you're going to have an effective result.
Correct.
You
Correct.
know, you know what I mean? And I think that that's lost a lot of times too. It's like things get,
But,
listed as pedestrian or that's low level. Let's just go at it. But
right.
there's downstream effects to just being wild, wild west or
Well,
Tom.
there is. And what's fascinating, Craig, is, before Martin, I was at a company that, with hundreds of IT people.
Mhm.
And you could see those processes slowing down implementation and and automation and all that, right? Because the process became too cumbersome.
Sure.
So when I looked moving to a smaller family-owned company, it was how do I use the process but don't become too bureaucratic, right? Because you still want to deliver fast, you still want to deliver the highest value as quickly as possible. So that's been an interesting dichotomy to watch how it works in a much larger company to a much smaller company.
Yeah, because you don't want to get it. It's so rigid that it's like the
Yeah,
government, and you
yeah,
can't move anything through the funnel to
correct,
this, where it's just like
correct.
do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I want to get back to like as far as selection and analysis of innovations, because and I know where you are on this argument, but I'm still interested in your opinion. We talk about build versus buy. You and I talked about that for like 20 minutes last time. And so we're talking about this. It's like,
yeah.
well, there has to be some situation where it's a build versus buy situation, and you do an analysis.
Mhm.
Like, what what calculation do you use, or what thought process do you use before you're going to a build versus buy? Because I know that would prefer to buy, right? But then in some
Oh, yeah,
cases where you
yeah,
can't, like
yeah,
how do you like what would you share with someone to, if you go, this is how you can recognize that the buy is not going to do it. This is when you have to talk. This
yeah.
you have to talk to Craig, like
Ah.
even if you don't want to, right?
No, look, so the first thing I always do, even before I say bill or buy, is what do I already own? I think if you look at a lot of companies, some of them aren't using even 50% of the functionality they're already paying for. So you've got to go through that process of saying, you want to do X. Can I do that with what I've got with maybe a few little tweaks or maybe even right out of the box? So let's say I can't. Well, now it's like, what am I trying to deliver internally versus externally? I think that's important because if it's an external, something my customers are going to use, I might be a little bit more picky on does what I'm looking at have to hit 80% of the requirements, or do I got to get to like 98%,
Mhm.
which can drive you more to a build. I'll give you an example right now. We've put out a solution that we believe is a bit of a game changer in our industry. And to do that, we had to partner with a company that had you bought something, but there was going to be build required to make it do what we wanted. So, in that case, because our customer was going to be using it every single day, and it's something that we felt we could roll out to multiple customers in order to give them a better solution, we went with build because we wanted to get to that 98%. 80% wasn't enough. When I'm looking at, hey, we're going to do a warehouse management system or we're going to do an ERP system, now those are kind of bigger, but you're never going to get 100% buy. But building something that enormous is painstaking and very expensive in the long haul and hard to support. So, I think you just got to go through the what is you're trying to achieve and what is the best cost effective, time effective way to solve it and make the decision accordingly. But yes, I think I obviously lean to buy because of things like upgrades and new features, new functionality. That's very hard to keep up with on a build solution.
Yeah, it's just I get it. When people say that they'd rather buy, it's because like there's at least a feeling that the industry is servicing the innovation. right? If you have enough customers clamoring for stuff, or they say, well, are you coming out with something like this or coming out with something
Yeah,
like that? And it births these new ideas. I get all that. And like, I think I shared with you before. It's like for us, it's like we have some people that are so adamant that they have the differentiator. Like you said, you had the game
absolutely.
changers.
Hmm.
Like I want to build because I don't want to contribute to the community at large. I want to be able to sell this or execute this that shows my company's different from the other 99.
And that's the example I just gave. Is in that case, we felt it was a true differentiator, and we knew build. There's a part buy, but building it was 80% of it, and we made the decision that that made sense because it gave us a
Yeah, and I
differentiation.
presume that arrangement you have is going to have some exclusivity or sovereignty to the functionality because it was spawned from, like, to some
Yeah,
degree,
that's
right? It
always a
happens.
you got to be careful there, right? That's always a fine line
Yeah,
because they're using enough of their own out of the box stuff that it's again it's a bit of a fine line, but IP in that case is very important. How
sure.
you get that in your contract and everything.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ERPs that end up partnering with other companies because they've built some addition on top of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ERP. So
yeah,
the ERP is the backbone, and then they have this additional feature or functionality, and they call it something new, but it's parasitic to the ERP. So you have to run with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I get it. One of the other things that we talked about too is AI. We read when we talked before, like AI is popping up in either these buy scenarios or like executive committees, like C-suiters are like, we got to get into this, and they don't really have any direction of where they're going. Now, I mentioned to you some of the stuff that we're seeing for implementations is like, in pricing, use case modeling, and things like that. What are you seeing in the
So I'm going to pontificate for just a little bit on
lay it
AI.
on me?
Look, AI is powerful and it can really help if you do it right. I think you mentioned the C-suite wanting, oh, we have to do AI. Well, too many companies have just run out and bought some AI before they knew what they were going to do with it. And I'll start way back to the beginning. And if your data's bad, don't even touch AI. It is a complete. It will waste time, money, hurt your customers, hurt your ability to deliver, etc. So my take on AI is: what is the business problem, or what are you trying to do? Define that really well first. Understand what you're trying to do. Then look at how could I use AI to solve that problem, and can I use something off the shelf like a chat GPT?
Mhm.
Or do I need to go buy an AI platform that I can then build on top of to make this happen? But if you go into it without truly understanding what you're trying to deliver, it can become a big black hole for time and money if you're not careful. We have pushed so far use the chat GPTs that can do a lot as far as just writing procedures or resumes
Sure.
or whatever. Start using there. And then what we're doing right now is we're looking for some proof of concept areas that says where can we use AI to really deliver for internal savings or to our customers better performance. Pricing is huge. How do you use that? We talked a little bit about um, how do I use AI to help me with where my inventory sits? If you look, a lot of distributors, their inventory is high. There's
Hmm.
dead inventory because you get demand from your customers and forecast from your customers.
Hmm.
Well, that's good to a point, but
Right.
we've seen some customers
Not
that
always
say,
accurate.
"Oh, we're not going to cancel that. We told you we needed 9 months on hand. We're going to cancel that product." And you're going,
Mhm.
So how do I use AI to get not just inventory, but inventory in the right place? So do I need more of this product in the Northeast because they're predicting bad weather or something like that to a
Sure,
certain
certainly.
extent, right? And then I think the other big one is just we get quotes with thousands of line items on it, right? And how do I go out and find pricing for those products when maybe I don't even have those in my system type of deal? So those are three of the areas we're starting to think about. Where within those three areas could I take some sort of AI and apply it to make better decisions now that our data is in a better place?
Yeah. I mean, and collectively, as an engineering community, I'm sure your IT group, members of your IT group know this too, is that SDKs are popping up all over the place that are embedded, and you can apply them to you can create your own models and you can apply them exclusively to your data. So you're not like just part of like a public
Oh,
GPT
yeah.
or
No,
like,
no, yeah.
a
I mean,
Copilot. So,
you've got we tell people don't load your financial spreadsheets up into ChatGPT and let it work on it because you've given the, key to your data to the world. No, we use things like GPT for, like I said, job descriptions and
sure,
policy writing. I mean, it just became
email
like
replies
yeah.
to a
Now,
degree.
you know what's interesting though? Like we have one of the projects we took on from an automation perspective is, hey, we haven't gotten an acknowledgement on a PO for X number of days. Well, we had somebody manually watching those, typing up an email and sending the supplier, hey, please send us your, acknowledgement. Did you get this? So we've used, and these are old tools, right? We've used a little bit of Azure AI
Sure,
and Power Automate
sure.
to we now read those POs. We say if we don't have an acknowledgement in the system after X number of days, auto send a letter to the supplier. And it uses a form letter, pulls the data out of our ERP with the right email, the right address, and it now sends them an email saying, hey, please send this acknowledgement. That's 4 hours a day that we just freed up on a
That,
on a
you
team
talk
member.
about optimization though too, Scott. I wonder how many people even realize that Power Automate's just part of their 365, right?
That's
Like,
why look at what you own first.
interesting.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
as we're wrapping up, what do you see for like the next 12 months? What success look like as far as innovation and optimization for Martin?
Well, for Martin, I think we still have some sites to bring on to our ERP system. We're still we got the biggest piece of the business on, but we've got some other smaller pieces we want to bring on. So again, we're still consolidating data. But I think for us, it's now that we have the system in place, let's go out and use it to drive value for our customers. How do we make sure that we're delivering these solutions, like I mentioned, the one we build that that went into our for the first customer just 3 months ago, and we're still tweaking that, and we go live with a second customer Monday on it as well. So I think it's really we are now at the point where we need to define and line up where we're going to use the tools we now have to really drive process automation, reduce cost, improve customer service. And it's exciting because we've gone through the crappy part of getting the
Right.
ERP in and
Then now
dealing
you
with
can just
the
tune
app.
in,
Yes, exactly. How do we
dial it
tune
in.
it? How do we use it to really now do what we want to do? And so it's a really exciting time for Martin to be able to do that. Now, I will tell you this that I'm old and I'll be retiring a year from December of 2026. So we're also in the process of shifting IT ownership over and doing that. But I'm going to stay there and help them drive all these
You're going to
projects of
go
automation.
down in history as like the only tech guy that handed off like it's like everything's smooth right now. Like you're just dialing stuff in, my friend. Uh,
Well, I
kudos
hope
to
that's
you.
what they think. We'll see.
Well, for these purposes,
Yeah, yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, but so it's exciting time for Martin, exciting time for me, and it's been an absolute joy working there and helping them to put themselves in a position to be able to grow much easier and much more efficiently.
Well, listen, Scott, I want to thank you. I love your perspective and your the journey's been so cool, and I just love your
Thanks.
optimism for the stuff. I just the way that you see the tech world. So, and Martin's lucky to have you, and your customers are lucky to have Martin. I mean, listen, because
Yes.
you and I both know behind the curtain, there's a lot of companies that are not that
Yeah.
sophisticated. You
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
cross your
It's
fingers.
really surprising how many are not yet, and so I think it gives Martin a leg up, and that's the goal. And it's been a joy, like I said, and I really enjoyed this, Craig. And uh, I don't call me a nerd. I don't know, but I love it. I love the
Yeah,
what
me
I
too.
do. So
Me too. Thanks again, Scott.
it's my pleasure. Thank you.